Estonia, Belarus, and Latvia. That was three of the countries I didn't mention in Sunday. I'm not sorry. I'm not just doing that in media res thing where I start in the middle of a sentence at the beginning of the pod before I actually formally introduce the podcast. I know of a tendency, especially in European nights, especially when you're looking forward to a big UEFA club fixture, to get a bit excited about the stats and get into all the kind of minutiae, the trivia of European football. I'm not going to do that. I know it puts a lot of people off. But I think on Sunday there, the post-match reaction pod after the Hibs game, I did say that I was quite stunned last Thursday night when Rangers, having recorded their first ever victory against a Swedish side in European club competition, I did a deep delve to celebrate, did a deep delve into, I did a deep delve into the McGee's tarts, the four tarts that you get £1.60 Morrison's, and you get your raspberry cake, you get your pineapple cake, you get the Bakewell tart. I've told you about that before anyway. But I didn't deep delve into that, but also into Wikipedia, into the stats. And I discovered that 16 of the 55 current UEFA member nations, I was talking about this in Sunday's pod, had never provided clubs that played Rangers in Europe. We have not, having played European club competition football since 1956-57 season, the second season of European club competition as we currently know it. I'm not talking about the Latin Cup or the Metropa Cup, the kind of regional things, or your Anglo-Italian Cup, the stuff that comes after the Intertoto. I'm talking about proper, full-on, pan-European, totally the entire continent included European club competition, which started in 1955-56. Although it was the first European Cup final was Real Madrid beating Stade de Reims in the Parc de France in Paris in 1956, 4-3, LeBlanc, Tomplin, Hidalgo. One of the first stats I ever remembered, LeBlanc, Tomplin, Hidalgo. That was the three goal scorers for Stade de Reims. What a glamorous, super romantic final that must have been. But if somebody shows you a photograph and they say, oh, there you go, that's Real Madrid beating Stade de Reims in the first ever European Cup final, because you can see it's the Parc de France, it's in the 50s. We'll say, well, sorry, the year before that, 1955, Real Madrid beat Stade de Reims in the Latin Cup in the Parc de France in Paris. So are you really sure, mate? Because I can't tell the difference. I don't know what the teams were for the Latin Cup clash, but they're much the same. And I've seen photographs of both, and I think the Latin Cup clash takes place a bit earlier in the day. I'm sure there's sunshine in the background in the photographs of that, whereas the European Cup final in 56, same two teams, same stadium, same winners. Ended up, it was kind of later at night, it's maybe a bit dark. Some of the photographs, it looks a bit grey, maybe a kind of dull night, a dull June evening. But, if somebody says to you, oh, they provide a photograph, 1950s, Real Madrid did it, just go, sorry pal, I'm not sure that is actually the first European Cup final. Could be the Latin Cup. Because what I find, and you're experiencing it just now, what I find is if people come on and they give you a European football stat and you tell them, no, actually there's a chance that could be wrong, they love you for it. You get on really well. It builds up a great relationship. But Rangers, we were involved in European club competitions we currently know. I mean, it's our 69th season, probably of being. This is the 70th season of European club competition. I started 1955-56 season, but Rangers, we didn't start until the following season. And Michel Hidalgo, who scored for Stade de Reims in that first European Cup final, he goes back to the Parc de France in 1984 as manager of France and wins France's first ever major competition, club or national. Because the European club scene, the French invented the European Cup. That was Gabriel Arnaud. The Henri Delaunay Trophy, that's the European Championship Trophy. They invented that. The Jules Rimet Trophy, remember that? They invented the World Cup. But they cannot win. They've certainly made up for lost time in the international front since 1984, particularly this century. But they could not win. I think they've only won twice, only two times a French team has won a European trophy. We know all about Marseille in '93. They weren't allowed to defend it. They're very nearly stripped of it as well. So, it really weird record to go, but that was France. Michel Hidalgo got a bit of revenge because it was Spain that France beat in the final in the same stadium, albeit it had that kind of 1971-72 makeover by that Iranian and architect and the French designer guy that gives it that lovely kind of pre-stressed concrete roof type thing you see in it just now, makes it an iconic stadium. But He's there, and he's the manager. So some sort of revenge for him, almost beating the Spanish or Real Madrid, having beat them. Because Stade de Reims got to another European Cup final in '59. They lost to Real Madrid again, and I'm talking to you on a night in which Real Madrid have lost in France to Lille, which is the same stadium where Lyon, that we play tomorrow night, lost the French Cup final against PSG last season by 2-1, just like ourselves, losing a goal by a single, losing the National Cup final by a single goal. But Michel Hidalgo had said after that European Championship final that it was the return ticket for Seville, when he was referring to the World Cup semi-final, which they'd lost to the Germans just 2 years earlier, 1982, in the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan in Seville on penalties. We lost the European final, Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, on penalties to Germans. The penalties were taken at the same end and the same goals as they were in 1982, but I feel as if it's more of a return for him, because the very first time that Rangers played in European club competition as we currently know it, 56-57, less than a year after that first European Cup final between Stade de Reims and Real Madrid, we played Nice. We played OGC Nice. That was our first ever opponent in European football, and we will play them in this season, our schedule in this season's Europa League group. So there will come a point later this season where the last team we have played in European competition will be the same as the first team we played in European competition. That will be nice. But in the first two seasons, we played Nice, we beat them 2-1 at Ibrox, they lost 2-1. We lost 2-1 over on the Côte d'Azur. So it went to a playoff, as was the case in those days, in the Parc de France in Paris. And we lost it, but it's kind of in the Parc de France where we beat Paris Saint-Germain, the current tenants. We beat them on penalties. Michel Hidalgo penalties. Seville, I thought it's all kind of linked in. We beat him under Dick Advocat back in the early 2000s, and I think there was actually a point to this, wasn't there? There might have been a point to this. Don't switch off just yet. Get another 2 minutes, then you'll be ready to switch off. But out of the second season we get put out European competition, first time of asking, 56-57, straight back into European Cup the following season, first team we draw. Saint Etienne. So we beat them. We beat them 3-1 at Ibrox, lost 2-1 in Saint Etienne. So it was a time in Rangers history where we had played 2 European ties, 5 games we had played, 5 European club competition games. 2 of them were at Ibrox, the other 3 were in France. Saint Etienne, Nice and Paris. That's a beautiful thing. And 3 cheers of the red, white and blue, be it the French tricolour or the teddy bears. Absolutely gorgeous situation. But I found it really quite stunning. And despite all this, and despite all these coincidences, Rangers there was 16 countries, 16 UEFA countries, 55 members of UEFA, 55 constituent nations, if you like, of UEFA that haven't provided club opposition. Rangers have never played a Welsh team. We've never played a Welsh team in Europe. Do you know what I mean? This, the new Saints are off to Fiorentina the same time as we're hosting Lyon. They're in the Conference League. Only once have we played a team from Northern Ireland in European competition. Played in plenty of friendlies, but we played Glentoran, I think, the Cup Winners' Cup back 66, 67. I'm not sure, but we definitely played. I'm sure it's Glentoran that we played. That's quite amazing when you think about it. Only one time, but I was talking on Sunday that pod. There was 16 teams I discovered last Thursday night and early as a Friday morning. 16 countries, and I know that 30. It's just over 30 years. Really though, since the Soviet Union broke up. I know that a lot of them seem new to guys my age because of the breakup of the Soviet Union or Azerbaijan. Never played a team for Azerbaijan or a team for Kazakhstan and that. But it's like over 3 decades, So what I did was I started to kind of cross-refer. I know what you're saying. I know Rangers haven't been available every season. This is their 69th season of European competition. 69th season of being available for European competition, because we didn't always qualify for Europe. In fact, we didn't. The one time we actually won a European trophy, typical of Rangers, we weren't available to defend it the following season because we'd been banned for Europe. We'd actually been banned for 2 seasons, but Wally Waddle got it commuted to 1 season, and we ended up. We had to miss that season out, 72-73 season, despite the fact we were a European trophy holder. I know we took part in the Super Cup, but the Super Cup doesn't count. Super Cup's not a proper European Cup. The Super Cup's just a ceremonial game. Right? Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Very proud that we kind of helped set the thing up or were involved in the first one, but we really just to fill in the blank calendar and what we thought was our centenary season. But I feel as if it's quite amazing that we didn't make the one season in the 60s. We didn't play in European competition, which is pretty amazing because every other season we were getting to a semi-final or a final. In the 60s, we got to 2 European finals, the semi-finals of the Fairs Cup and the semi-finals of the European Cup, and twice we got to the final of the Cup Winners' Cup. I think we got the quarterfinals as well. I think Leeds put us out in the quarterfinals one season as well at the First Cup. But there was one season we didn't qualify at all. One time we get pumped 6-0 by Real Madrid in the Bernabeu, the great Real Madrid team of Puskas and Di Stefano and Hento and these kind of guys who'd were on their way to winning their sixth one just like a couple of seasons later. Their sixth in the space of less than 10 years. But that was, it's really embarrassing getting beaten by 6 clear goals away from home in the top competition. But it's just one of these things that happens to you. But I felt it was quite stunning. So I don't think it was 64-65 season when Kilmarnock won the league and they beat Hearts to win the league. It was a playoff between the two of them basically the last round of fixtures. So that was Hearts would finish second. Willie Waddle's Kilmarnock Willie Waddle winning the Scottish League title as a manager. Something he didn't do us, but he did win a European trophy. And I think Dunfermline finished third. They also lost the Scottish Cup final to Celtic, who'd finished 11th in the league. I think we'd finished 5th at least in the league that season. It's one of the league seasons where the league was a total write-off for the Old Firm, quite rare. But I'm pretty sure that's probably the season in the 60s we didn't qualify. We didn't qualify 72, 73 because we were banned. And I think 79, 80, we lost the Scottish Cup final after extra time to Celtic. We exchanged our gifts at the end, as you might remember, as Andy Cameron described it. And Aberdeen won the league, so Celtic went to Cup Winners' Cup, Aberdeen European Cup, and Dundee United won the League Cup. So I don't even know if it's at a European place at that point, the League Cup, but I think that's the season 80-81 we ended up playing the Anglo-Scottish Cup and getting beat 3-0 at Saltergate, but Chesterfield whipped Scotties, all that kind of thing. But I find it quite amazing that basically being around in Europe, let's put it that way, for 69 years, Rangers have got 16 countries that will still to face a team from either of those. And it got to the point where I suddenly realised, after going on about that on Sunday, that there was 6 UEFA Nations, their national team that I hadn't seen. I've known that for a while. I'm quite obsessed with that. I've been going to see Scotland for about 40 odd years, for 44 years. I've been going to Hampden kind of casually, to see Scotland, but I've ended up ticking off most of the current UEFA Nations, their national teams. I thought I'll cross-refer the 16 countries that Rangers haven't played one of their clubs in European competition, and the 6 countries that I haven't seen, and I'll see if there's any countries out there that I've seen neither a football, a club or a national team from that country. Andorra, never seen an Andorran national team, never seen an Andorran club side, so that's a bad one. Azerbaijan, never seen their national team, never seen a club side. Kosovo, quite recently independent in totally uncontroversial circumstances from Serbia, never seen the Kosovan national team, never seen a Kosovan club side. Luxembourg, yeah, I've never seen their national team, but progress need a con. I've seen them twice. I find it quite memorable. I don't know why. Switzerland, really embarrassing. It's a total stand-up routine that how I've managed to not be able to see Switzerland at any point in my life. Never seen the Swiss national team, but I've seen Young Boys Bern, seen Grasshopper Zurich, seen them at Ibrox. So definitely seen Swiss club sides. And Montenegro. So that is basically Andorra, Azerbaijan, Kosovo. There's three countries out there, 3 UEFA member nations. I've seen neither a club side nor a national 11, male, female, underage, anything from those nations. But Montenegro, never seen the national team, but I remember seeing Zeta. Zeta was FC Zeta, FK, NK Zeta. I can't remember. Zeta, Zeta, the very first European tie we played in the tumultuous 2007-2008 European campaign. We played them in there must have been the 3rd qualifying round of the Champions League. We beat them 2-0 at Ibrox, I think. We beat them 1-0 to Marcus Beasley, was it? Scored the goal over there in Podgorica, or maybe Zeta's a play. Maybe the town of Zeta was a national stadium, I'm sure that they've seen it since then. We beat them 1-0 over there, and then we end up, we beat Red Star Belgrade in the playoff and into the Champions League group stage where we played Lyon. We met Lyon, didn't we? We end up finishing 3rd in the group, and we go into the UEFA Cup, as was the situation back then. And we make the final, which we lose to Zenit St. Petersburg. But back then, seeing Rangers in a European final, it was the first European final we'd played for 36 years. But I didn't remember the 72 one. I was only 2 years old at the time for the Barcelona Bears did the business. But this was just the thing I had to see for Rangers before I died. I'd already seen us equal in 9 in a row and winning trebles and stuff like that. So the only thing I needed was to see us in a European final. And it happened. It was absolutely amazing. But almost like a sign from the gods, in the summer of 2007, I stayed in Bilbao for a week. My wife and I went for a holiday in Bilbao, and the hotel that we stayed in, in the Basque region, in Bilbao, was the Hotel Zenit. So Zeta was the first game we played. Zenit was the Z to Z of European football, but more coincidentally, the last thing I did before that 2007-2008 season started was have a holiday in the Hotel Zenit, and we would meet Zenit St. Petersburg just under a year later in the final that I'd craved so much, and that was a holiday in Bilbao, and Bilbao is where the Europa League final is played this season, at the end of this season. But I would need to have... I would need to be playing a team called Atletico Premier in Oban, because that's my summer holidays were a bit... we went for a cottage, a cottage in Ripon for a few days this summer, but that's Rapid Vienna. I think they're in the Conference League actually, Rapid Vienna. So no, we're not going to. The signs aren't there, but it's definitely something to note. It's quite hard to believe that Rangers have got 16 countries. How you doing, folks? This is your Fatek. Rangers are back at Ibrox in European Action Preview Pod, coming to you in association with Jersnet. Get on the Jersnet on YouTube. The latest pod would be Sunday night there. And it's John and Alan. I watched that one. They're reviewing the Hibs game and the victory over Malmo. So, and much more than that. So give that a wee watch if you can. I'll be back on Friday night. Obviously, there'll be lads back on Friday night doing a preview pod ahead of the game against St Johnstone and reviewing this Thursday night's epic European encounter with the mighty Olympique Lyonnais, sponsored by Jersey and also by Deep Heat. Deep Heat, you get a wee spray tin now. If you're 23 stone, just take my advice. If you're 23 stone, don't try to look like you're well up for it by skipping off even a step, like the bottom of 2 or 3 steps. Skip off the bottom one with kind of purpose. You'll bust your ankle. So I was giving it a bit of that. Deep Heat. The manager didn't announce it in his pre-match presser today, but I will be fit. I will make the game tomorrow night. You're okay. Thanks to the Deep Heat, which now comes in a wee handy spray. You know, like when I was a boy, when I was playing in the Largs and District Pub League, sponsored by AT Mays, who I worked for. The only reason I got a game in that league was because I worked for the sponsors. And we finished bottom in that league every year we played in it. But I was a top scorer, but top scorer for both seasons, 3 seasons that were in that that we played in that league. And I remember the season I got double figures, no? 2. I got 2 goals. That was quite good. But it was happy days. Although we played at the one of the great things about playing that was in Largs, and it was at the Inverclyde for the SFA headquarters with the SFA going. They have their training camps before internationals. The Scotland national team used to go there a lot, and they'd have coaching sessions there as well. One day my mates and I were just sitting, watching Andy Roxburgh and Jose Mourinho in this coaching session. Archie Knox and Walter Smith were there. It was quite amazing. You could just walk up and watch these things. But used to play Sunday League, they're a big plastic pitch, all weather pitch, floodlights and that. It felt great, but you're playing in the winter. You're just playing a Sunday night. We'd play you'd have an 8 o'clock kick off on a Sunday night. Absolutely insane, that's batshit to be playing football at that time. But we did, and during the winter it was freezing. I'm saying to my mate, I think he's some of the Deep Heat there. I go on the old legs there, but because in those days I used to get, you'd get assaulted for being over 5'10" in a built-up area, just walking the streets when you were kind of late teens, early 20s in Ardrossan and that, or going out in Glasgow and then with playing football. So I've been this blind that warrants these kind of size of specs since I was 14. So I had the contact lenses back then, contacts, so I could walk about glasses free. It would just be another bit of glass to put. I've got the beer glasses going in the face, so I don't want the beer glass and the specs glass as well, which is what happened to me in a boozer in Glasgow. I'll talk about that another time. But so I got the old contact lenses in there. I just whapped on the old kind of tin. Was it a tin or stuff? You go out and you easily confused with Brill cream or whatever. But you popped it on the old legs, rubbed it all over the thighs and what have you, and then I put my contacts in. So that was me blind for 3 days. Played best fit I'd played all that season apparently, but yeah, much better now that Deep Heat's got the spray. I'm talking to you the evening before. My name is Alec Anderson, by the way. In my home, in my bedroom, where my wife sleeps, where my children come and play with their toys. My home. I'm talking to you. I'm recording this on the Wednesday evening before Rangers try to get their first win at home in Europe in what would be 4 games. We've lost 2 and drawn 1 of our last 3 home games in Europe, albeit one of them was at Hampton. Quite unusual. We've got to this stage of the season. It's the start of October, and it's only our second home game in Europe. I kind of unseen benefit of our previous European form building up to this. But of course, all we're thinking about still probably is the fact we didn't make it into the Champions League. Probably quite happy we didn't make it into the Champions League in many ways. But we didn't make it in the Champions League group stages, but because of our what we've done in Europe recently, coefficients going through the league for the league channel, we managed to miss out the playoff round. So, a lot of pressure on this Rangers team to gel together really quickly. A lot of new signings, not as many as we'd like. So it's benefited us in that sense that this is only our second home European game of the season, and it's October. We're playing Lyon, and it's going to be another thing I didn't finish talking about on Sunday. And I'm sorry to keep doing this. I set up a whole analogy thing with the actors not having proper range. The actors don't have the range that we think they have. It's because of Maggie Smith died. I love Maggie Smith, but not a lot of times she's playing basically the same kind of character or putting various amounts of depth in it, depending on the director. It's a bit like Robert De Niro, for example. I was talking about him on Sunday. Robert De Niro, he's played Vito Corleone, one of the greatest, mafia top men, heads of the families, godfathers in the history, fictional, real, whatever, who manages to form his own crime family, a dominant crime family in New York, while also getting revenge by murdering the people who murdered his parents back in Sicily. And he's played wild, wacky, stupid Johnny Boy in Mean Streets, who's fag end, barely even allowed into organised crime in New York. In that Martin Scorsese film, and in between you've got Jimmy the Gent, or Jimmy Conway in Goodfellas, and he's a bit of a cowboy when he wants to be, but he also knows when to rein it in and when to toe the line. Bit of a line manager, if you like, in the whole mafia setup, the organised crime setup. So he's played three really different characters, De Niro, but they're all mafia guys in New York. So it's kind of, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to say they can't act. I'm not trying to say there's no ability to change up there, but just in terms of range, he's not reaching that far. He's not really going that far or justifying it. That's his greatest roles. His greatest roles are all pretty much in that kind of oeuvre. Taxi Driver, again, still New York though, and he's a bit of a criminal. So I'm just trying to say there's but the idea was I was trying to finish off that point by saying, football teams don't have that choice though. They have to have as much range as possible, and the director for us, the experienced director, is Mr. Philippe Clement, and he's got, you've got full-backs, you've got your centre-halves, different roles in the game, midfielders, strikers, your goalkeeper's got to use his hands. So there's lots of range incumbent in a football team, in the same way that De Niro could play different people, but all within the same. But the real range for a football team, the range that we're aiming for, is our ability to be like favourites in 75% of the games, 80% of the games that we play in Scotland, and be hated by everybody that we come up against in Scotland, and then go and be a European team that, like a Lyon, will have zero respect for whatsoever, and we'll know that they're pretty capable of wiping the floor with us. We need to live up to that expectation and not live down to the bad expectations we get domestically. We really need to have a proper mentality of being able to dominate domestically and then rise to the occasion, exceed ourselves on the European front. We want to be a proper, well-remembered Rangers team with proper rangers. There's a wee pun in there as well. So in that case, we still lack the depth. We lack the proper depth. We lack the proper range, this football team just now, the team that Rangers have, and I don't think Ianis Hagi is the answer. I don't think he's the answer, but he will give us more depth. I think he will give us more kind of quality coming back. It's a strange one. Ianis Hagi, it been announced yesterday, Wednesday, that he was resolved his dispute with Rangers. I think what seems to have happened there is Philippe Clement has just Monday at training has sidled on. I'm just going to watch this game, the A team, the first team. I'm going to watch their training from behind the goal just for a wee, just get a better angle on it. All right, Philip, on you go. And Ianis Hagi just said, I'm just going to do a full length of the pitch here. I'm just going to run up to the B team, the reserve team training pitch at Auchenhowie, and they've had a wee kind of meeting. They've bumped into each other accidentally, deliberately, and Ianis has said that you were struggling yesterday, but you got the win, well done, but you were struggling. You're clearly a lot of knackered players there. You could deal with somebody who'll just play number 10 for you, for example, domestically, and isn't going to get knackered in Europe. I am available. And he said, aye, that's true, but also the head of your FA, the old Romanian FA guy, was saying that if you don't get yourself some decent first team fitness soon, you'll not be getting back into international teams. So shall we just, you wanted a tenner, I just call it £7.50, Philip. It's a fiver, you're back in. Aye, okay, right, that's fine. So they've sorted it out, but Philippe Clement's his demeanour today in the press conference, I'm probably reading too much into it myself, because I thought Clement had just binned him, basically. That was it. He's acted up. He's made a lot of noise off stage, has Ianis Hagi. He's disavowed his agent or various representatives. He's dialed that back, but he really did make a big deal with the fact that he wasn't getting treated properly at Rangers. He couldn't see a future for himself there. He went public with that stuff, and I was quite happy for Philippe Clement to say, right, Jurio, that's it. The manager now today saying it was internal, it's internal stuff, and he refused to go any further than that when he was actually asked about it. Could be taken as him being a bit tetchy about the fact that it was maybe I think the suspicion is there that somebody went over his head and just said, we're going to have Hagi back. I can't see that. I can't see somebody telling, Clement, you've got to have him back in the A team, the first team, the number one team, whatever. But he didn't seem too happy with it. So I might be reading into that as well. When he did the whole kind of joke about, is it kilometres or miles you want, and when he was asked at this press conference today, how far was Hagi from getting, from being ready for the first team? Because the first thing the manager said was, Hagi is not ready. He's not an option just now. He's not fit enough, having played for the B team so far this season at most. When he said that, it was a really funny line, and it came out by the end, it came out quite light-heartedly. But you could imagine that starting as a kind of sarcastic, I'm sick of talking about this guy. But the manager doesn't like talking about injured players or players he doesn't have available to him. That's something he's done from day one. I just want to talk about who is available to me this weekend. I don't want to talk about injured players. It keeps a kind of positivity going. But he didn't seem very happy to talk about Hagi. I didn't think, maybe reading between the lines. And it's difficult to know if it's going to be a political thing. Ianis Hagi hasn't played for us really for 3 years. Terrible injury, horrible injury against Stirling Albion. Totally innocuous game, but an injury that ruled him out. He didn't play for a year and a week for Rangers. It was January 2023 before he was back. He played against St Johnstone. I think it was his comeback. He'd been fantastic for us during 55, scored 8 goals. He was king of assists in the league that season, 2020-2021. And he scored like the only goal of the game in a struggle at Ibrox against St Johnstone, the only goal of the game in a struggle at Ibrox against Hibs, when we're just getting ourselves over the line from being the form team to basically going into the home straight of winning the league, a massive league title for us. I remember him scoring against St Mirren the day we all but confirmed ourselves as champions. The fans were all outside, COVID lockdown. We beat St Mirren 3-0. Hagi scores a goal. It was phenomenal that day. The whole team were phenomenal, and then that iconic moment. I should get a framed photograph of that where they go up the track between the main stand and the Copeland to celebrate through the fence with the fans outside in Edmiston Drive. Magic moment. And Hagi was part of all that. It was fantastic. And he gets this injury 6 months into the next season, and that's him. He's basically not kicked a ball for it since. He scored that goal against Hibs at Easter Road at the end of 2022-2023 when Beale was in charge, and it obviously meant a lot to him, genuine emotion when he scored that goal. They're showing it again today on Sky, but it's a memory that stuck, so you can see it meant a lot to the guy to get back. He then goes to Alaves. He falls out with Beale, basically, to all intents and purposes, as far as we know. He goes off to Alaves in Spain, and I think he played about 20-odd league games for them, but he only scored against lower league opposition in the Cup, and I don't know how well he did over there, and there's been a whole lot of noise. I didn't think it was great for Romania during the summer, but he's clearly an icon, and he takes on the burden of being an icon just through his dad. That's the way things are done in the continent sometimes. A guy who's played in Romania, played in Italy, basically, he's an adopted Turk. He's never kicked a ball for Galatasaray, but as far as they're concerned, he's one of theirs anyway by right because of his dad. So he's used to football cultures, football environments where you just let the agent say something stupid in public to ratchet up the negotiations or whatever. But I think that's been misplaced using that with Rangers. That's not the way we operate. So I've not enjoyed that. Nothing against him, he's a guy that you just couldn't dislike. He's a lovely fella, Ianis Hagi, and certainly a trier. But I didn't like the way he conducted himself, and he wasn't valuable enough to us, I thought, to merit that. So that's one of the losers back. The losers, not the guys for the 2020-2021 season we needed to get rid of for the last 2 or 3 seasons. That's one back, and it's not like Wayne Grove coming and joining Neil McCauley's crew, and it's more like Braden, the guy they pick up in the. He's the grill man in the diner when Danny Trejo calls off from being their getaway driver. So it's somebody that they actually know. You know what I mean? Tavernier just said, you're a former member of the skipper's team, the skipper's squad, the skipper's really tight crew. Are you cool? And I'm cool. So it's, Tav knows him. Tav will bring her back in with the new boys and that, but it's just really weird the way the manager was saying. I've talked to him I bumped into him almost a few times at Ibrox and at Auchenhowie. He's been cast out. Ianis Hagi, and there he's back in. It's a weird one. I know for some folk it's a no-brainer because he's a great footballer. He's very slow, so we don't think he really suits things. But we've got Dessers playing up front, and he's not the fastest in the world just now. But I don't think he's part of the manager's long-term ambitions. I don't even think he's part of his short-term ambitions. It feels like it's been kind of forced on the manager. I don't know how that's going to make him seem to the rest of the team. It's a weird one for me. It's a weird one. I'm probably reading too much into it. But Ianis Hagi, not in the European squad, a long way from being fit enough for the first team squad, according to the manager. But if we're guaranteed 7 more games starting tomorrow night in this Europa League group stage, this extended new format. So there's going to be a lot of really brutal Sundays after hopefully really intensely good Thursdays coming up domestically. We'll need all the bodies we can get, and with Rabbi Matondo and Cortez out the reckoning, I just don't know how Hagi's going to fit in. He's going to play at 10. He's not the quickest in the world, but I'm just hoping it will start my long-term campaign is to get him a new nickname, and to get my nickname just the locksmith, the lockpick. I thought that's because he's not the fastest, but when he gets the ball, he can unpick defences. He can break low blocks and what have you with his little. I don't even know what foot he uses. I still haven't worked out what's his preferred foot, but he's a very clever player. He can beat defences with one little bit of skill. So this is how these Italian players do it. The players that are based in Italy, they get great nicknames. My problem, I think James Tavernier, the main problem with Tavernier is that he's the song they've got from "Hey James Tavernier makes defenders fear." It's a terrible song. Running down the wing, it's a rubbish song, so it attaches itself to the player. Somebody told me it's actually a Michael Jackson tune. What? That's even worse for poor Tav. El Buffalo. Alfredo Morelos, absolute nightmare at times. Just really let Rangers not turning up for games and getting us put out of the Scottish Cup and stuff like that. Really embarrassing himself, embarrassing the club as well with some of his behaviour. Alfie constantly selling the jerseys, but he was great. He was an absolute hero because he had 2 cracking songs, and a great nickname, El Buffalo. Buff, on you go. Fantastic. It's a PR thing. I think it should be Ace of Spades, Motorhead, because Tav, I'm always saying, don't concentrate on his defensive stuff. It's a gamble. Tav's the start of the gamble where we have to get forward and overload because we're Rangers and we should overload. We should overpower most teams domestically at least. So Tav's the start of that gamble by constantly bombing forth and nobody able to get back. I like to gamble. You win some, lose some. It's all the same to me. It would help folk understand the role of the modern wing back and our current captain, and people calling him a loser. I'm going to lose and gambling's for fools, but I swear I like it, baby. I don't want to live. I think it's going to give him a much better profile in the face of the Rangers support. We're playing Lyon. I should talk about that, but also Dujon Sterling. He signed a contract extension, and I think contract extensions are coming they're economic, short term. They're economic, but also they're political. I think they're PR exercises as well. Contract extensions, as was used for the manager during the season. John Gilligan coming out last week and saying the manager has been doing a lot of PR. He's been doing taking a lot of the weight, fronting up for the club to the media when so many things are going wrong off the field. It wasn't really his role, and John Gilligan was apologising for that. I think that's also part of why he gets a contract extension. We're just showing good faith, acknowledging the manager's had to do too much. I think that could be the case with Dujon Sterling's contract extension because there's still a few years to go in his current contract. If an English team wants to come in from us, seems very likely. Well, it means they've got to buy out a longer contract, so financially it suits us. But I think also he's been getting moved about from pillar to post. Literally, that's his position. The manager still wouldn't reveal today. He said he does have a position in mind for him, but he won't say what it is. Makes you think it's got to be right back, isn't it? He doesn't want to upset Tav. Doesn't want to get the fans on Tav's back again. Or he's just lying. Doesn't know what position to play him in. But Sunday was a case in point for Dujon Sterling. He comes on with just over 20 minutes to go and plays wide right. And then with 5 minutes to go, we bring on Casemiro, and Tav gets pushed up wide right. And Dujon goes and sits. He's sitting midfield alongside Conor Barron. So he's a man who he doesn't just have to play lots of different positions through a season. He plays lots of different positions in a game in which he's come on late. It's really unsurprising that he lost a bit of form his last few appearances. He wasn't very good the first half. He gets subbed off at half time, that League Cup game against Dundee at Ibrox. But you can see why he might be getting a bit disenfranchised, not having a set position and then getting moved about when he does actually come on the park. And I think maybe the club are saying to him, look, we do care for you. We do care about you. We care for you as well. I care for you very much, Dujon. Apparently he's part of the leadership group. That's been a big talking point today on all your various pods that get to the point a lot quicker than myself. He's part of the leadership group. I think it's because he looks like he could knock 7 shades out. And that's the way leadership groups used to be sorted out at the football. Biggest, hardest guys are in the leadership group. And I think that's the way Big Dujon puts himself about. Makes him a total fan favourite. I love him. He's Mr. Utility Man, and may he remain at Ibrox. Common sense to give him a wee contract extension. Lyon, French football. Olympique Lyonnais, 7 Ligue 1 titles they've won. And that means like PSG, Saint Etienne, their big rival, Saint Etienne, back in Ligue 1 this season. So they've got that derby coming up as well. I don't know when the next time they play Saint Etienne, but it's a big thing for them. The Alps-Rhone derby. I can't remember what it's called. But you've also, I think Nantes have won it 8 times. Monaco, I think, have won more. I think they're about 6th in the overall number of titles won by French clubs, domestic titles. But Lyon won all theirs in a wanner. 7 league titles. Lyon won, and they won them in 7 years, 7 seasons. The first time we played Lyon in Europe, the 2007-2008 Champions League group stage, that was the last season they won Ligue 1. And the first season they won it was 2001, 2002, whatever it was. They won it 7 in a row. It's quite a weird one. I think Paris Saint-Germain getting the money from Qatar. I don't know at what point. I know Lyon have had financial problems comparative to the manager. I was joking about that today. They've still got absolute monster money compared to ourselves when it comes to making signings and what have you. But by their own standards, they've had financial problems. But also PSG getting the uplift they've got from the Qatari money, so that's taken them to a different level. But even PSG level, Lille coming in there, Monaco maybe as well, winning the occasional Ligue 1 over the last decade or so. So PSG are building up like 3 in a row and 4 in a row, but nobody can beat the 7 in a row that Lyon did. And that just sums up the kind of weirdness of them. Lyon have never played in a European final. I remember saw a fellow on Rangers Review today, and I'd advise you to watch that. It's Tom Abadi. He's a Lyon supporter, English fella, but he supports Lyon. I don't know if he's half English, half French, whatever, but obviously very British kind of accent, along with a lot of the French in there, obviously. And I've spoke to the fella myself. I was on him, I think it was myself and Ross on Jersnet the last time we played Lyon in 2021. When we played them in the Europa League group stage, and Tom came on and was very kindly giving us his advice. And I remember saying to him, I find it quite amazing that Lyon have never reached a European final. And he was saying, well, we won the Intertoto Cup. And I'm doing my whole thing again, going, well, I actually mean 3, the 3 main European, there's 4 now with the Conference League, but historically there's 4, but 3 European main competitions. And it's a bit like French football in general. It's like 15 times or something like that a French club has reached a European final. And when you think about the teams they've got, think about the clubs, only twice has a French club won a European trophy. PSG won the Cup Cup in 1996, and Marseille obviously won the Champions League 93 and weren't allowed to defend their title because of the wee bit of cheating that going on in Ligue 1. We think it went on against CSKA Moscow as well in the group stage of the Champions League the year they won it, but they weren't allowed to defend their title. Pretty ropey. It's quite incredible when you consider the size of the French League, the depth of the French League. These teams you've never heard of, clubs you've never heard of, cracking 30,000 all-seater beautiful stadiums, and it sums it up that a team like Lyon, a club like Lyon, have never reached a European final. Semi-finals of the Winners' Cup. They've been semi-finals twice of the Champions League, 2010, 2020, both times losing to Bayern, and they reached the semi-finals of the Europa League in 2017. Ajax beat them. Ajax lost to Man U in the final in Sweden, but so they've been kind of there or thereabouts. But it's quite incredible that they've never actually reached a European final when they've had so much money, so much power, so many fantastic players there. Parc Olympique Lyonnais, which is Groupama. I can't remember the sponsor's name, but then that forces UEFA to then call it the OL Stadium, Olympique Lyonnais Stadium, because they're terrified that anybody who's paid for advertising from them shan't have the stadium named after their main sponsor. So, but it's the Parc Olympique Lyonnais, which is the original title. It's Euro 2016 they got it for. It's got like a capacity of over 59,000, and it looks like a castle. It looks like it holds 100,000. It's unbelievable. Really staunch as well. Red, white, and blue. Lyon all white, but a lot of red and blue trim there. Not just when they used to wear the Ligue 1 champion, the champion collars and cuffs, which is from the French tricolour, but a cracking kit. They've got an absolutely amazing stadium. But this season already, I think they're 11th in the league just now. They've lost 3, 1-2, drawn one of their 6 league and games so far. They're 11th in the league. A bit of a struggle so far this season. This is their first season back in European competition since we played them in 2021, 2022 in the Europa League. Remember they beat us 2-0 at Ibrox. I can't remember the fella's name. A Cameroon player who scored the first goal for them, a Tav Song goal for the second. And that was our first group game. Then we went to the second group when we lost in Prague. And that was us, no points the first 2 games. But we end up, when we go back to Lyon, to play the return as it was in those days, the return game, it was the last group game, and it was a dead rubber. Both teams were already through. Quite amazing. That campaign, Ianis Hagi scoring against Brøndby in Denmark. A vital goal in that campaign. But that was us. We ended up going on to the final. Lyon, I think they beat Porto in the last 16, and then they lost to West Ham. They drew with West Ham in London, but they lost 3-0 to them at home. And I think there was some sort of crowd trouble. I can't remember anything about it, which means this being their first season back in Europe, they qualified directly for the Europa League group stages by finishing 6th. The 6th in Ligue 1 last season, something like 23 points behind champions PSG, but a couple of points I think ahead of, was it Lens that got the last European place with the Conference League, and it was them and Nice. Nice were a couple of points ahead of them. They got the first of the Europa League group stage, qualifying for the Europa League group stage directly from Ligue 1, and Lyon only got in there. They won one of their first 14 games, I think it was, in Ligue 1 last season. Incredible. Went through 2 minutes to get rid of Laurent Blanc and Fabio Grosso of 2006 World Cup final and semi-final and qualifiers at hand in fame. He went out as manager as well, and that was them. I think it was November, December. They got in this chap Pierre Sage, S-A-G-E. Looks at Pierre Sage, who his whole career was playing proper lower league, 5th tier amateur football, and he managed a few really lower league clubs, and he ended up, I think, the other club, the kind of Queen's Park to Rangers of the city of Lyon. Smaller club though. Queen's Park, quite a big concern again these days since turning professional. But he got, I think via being even assistant manager there, he got a gig as a youth coach at Lyon. That was it. And then he ends up going to the club founded by Jules Rimet, Red Star Paris. I think he's assistant manager there. And then he comes back and he joins the Lyon Academy. And then I think they've just been through 2 managers by November. So Lyon are saying, do you fancy just taking on the first team just now? And he did such a good job. I think they won like 3 in a row, and then he went through another wee losing spell. Then they won 4 in a row over the kind of Christmas into January period. So he got the job full time, as full time and as permanent as it can be at Lyon these days. And he went in a run right at the end of the season of 4 straight wins, which just got them into Europe by the skin of their teeth, which was something else. And that let them go straight into because of the coefficient of the French League, one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. They went straight into the Europa League group stages, and their first game was against Olympiacos. When they played last week, they played Olympiacos at home. Olympiacos, the Conference League holders, they won the Conference League last season. Amazing situation. Like Dundee United have been in a European final, Lyon haven't. You know, Olympiacos have been in and won a European final. Lyon haven't even reached a final. So they beat Olympiacos last week, but half the ground was shut because of crowd trouble that had gone on. But it was like 2-3 seasons ago, because that was the last time Lyon were actually in Europe. So it's just because of the depth, the quality in the league, and the money in that league. It's like the fact that Bournemouth have probably got 200 times the turnover of Rangers. But you look at the size of Bournemouth compared to us. Lyon are an example of that. Just the domestic situation is absolutely huge, and it's very difficult to bomb on from there. Not that they really want to. It means, however, that we have got a real quality team coming to play us tomorrow night. They beat Toulouse 2-1. We had a 95th minute winner after they'd gone behind early on in that game in Toulouse on Sunday there. They've got Nantes at home this weekend at 2 o'clock, so they're going to face the same kind of turnaround that we faced. 8 o'clock in Glasgow and then 2 o'clock kick-off on Sunday, even though they've got Nantes at home. Nantes always decent. The previous weekend, though, they lost 3-2 at home to Olympique Marseille. Quite incredible game. Alexander Lacazette, who we all know from Arsenal, but a Lyon legend. I think he's a local guy as well. He's the captain. He tore a centre-half to pieces. It got him booked and then red-carded, and that was he was going down the Lyon left, down the kind of right-hand side. So beware Tav or whoever's playing there tomorrow night. He got the guy sent off in 5 minutes' time. In the space of 5 minutes, they missed a penalty, Lacazette, just before half-time. And then Lyon took the lead early in the second half. Marseille down to 10 men for most of the game. They go and equalise, and then they take the lead. And Marseille, I think, equalised 3 minutes into injury time. Sorry, Lyon equalised 3 minutes into injury time, and then Marseille go back up the park and score again in the 95th minute, a 95th minute winner. And that kind of sums up the way things have been going. It's staunch as hell. I saw the footage of that game, obviously. Staunch as hell, that game. You know, the red, white and blue stands showing in this castle of a stadium. Lyon with the all white and the red and blue trim. Marseille wearing was an orange top with blue shorts. It's a total staunch fest. But what kind of gives a wee bit of hope that Lyon are not a good situation. But the players they have got, they've got Gift Orban. I don't even think he's got a regular game for them. Gift Orban, the Nigerian striker's only 22 years old, Nigerian striker. He was the fellow who kind of saved our bacon a wee bit in the 2022-23 season with the one and only Mo Salah. You remember this at the game. Scored the fastest hat-trick in European club history. European club football history. 6 minutes and 25 seconds, was it something like 6 minutes 12 seconds? 6 minutes 12 seconds, I think. Salah's hat trick against Rangers, which we just sat there watching with our chin going. That's when it went from, we're going to lose to Liverpool probably, to we're getting slaughtered. 7-1. We lost 7-1 that night. That's a humiliation, even if it is the Champions League. But later on that season, that was the fastest hat-trick in Champions League history, certainly, but also in European club competition in general. But Gift Orban, who's playing for Ghent of Belgium at the time, was the last 16 of the Conference League. They played Istanbul Başakşehir in Istanbul. And he scored a hat-trick in 3 minutes, 25 seconds. 3 minutes, 25 seconds. How do you get time to reset the ball? I watched it. I remember watching it on telly, not live, but I was seeing the highlights. It was quite incredible. He's scored the fastest hat-trick in the history of European football, which maybe takes the heat off us a bit. It doesn't get mentioned. We don't get mentioned as being at the wrong end of the fastest of all time in European club competition. But he's playing. He plays for Lyon. I don't even know if he's getting a regular game, because you get Lacazette playing. He's the kind of plays 10 for them. He's the captain, said local guy. You get Wilfried Zaha. I don't think he's getting a game regular for them, according to Abadi, Mr. Abadi, who I heard. Abadi was the name of one of the Uruguay players who scored against Scotland. I think he scored a couple of goals against Scotland when Uruguay beat Scotland 7-0 in the 1954 World Cup, only their second finals match ever played. No harm to Tom, but his name reminds me of terrible times for Scotland. Wilfried Zaha, who you remember, the Côte d'Ivoire international, but he's raised in London, didn't quite work out for him at Manchester United, but he's a Crystal Palace legend and a cracking player. He's on loan from Galatasaray. Said Benrahma, Algerian striker. We all know Said Benrahma is scoring for West Ham in the Conference League final, winning a Conference League winner, which kind of pales into insignificance compared to I think it's one of the best names in world football. Corentin Tolisso. His name's kind of taken over from Tranquillo Barnetta and Ernesto Cambiaso for me in terms of cracking names, just brilliant names to a Scottish ear anyway. He plays number 8 for them, and he came on as a sub for France. I think when they won the World Cup in 2018, he came on as a sub in the final against Croatia, and I think he also came on as a sub for Bayern Munich when they beat PSG in the 2020 Champions League final. So a bit of a dude, Corentin Tolisso. They've also got Tagliafico of Argentina, a World Cup winner. Tagliafico in 2022. Who else have we got? The chap who scored, I think, their first goal against Olympiacos, Ryan Cherki. He's a kind of left winger, 21 years old. He is really setting the heather and fire over there, if they have heather in France. But he looked, the goal he scores against Olympiacos, it's just a kind of, almost a standing start in the box. He just takes it away for the guy. He's a bit of a unit, one of these guys who's mobile and chunky, and he just looks like all sorts of nightmares for us. So we need to be on the ball against him. Who else have we got? I'm starting to forget the names of some of these players. The goalkeeper is Lucas Perry, the Brazilian goalkeeper. Saw him make a couple of cracking saves. One close range, point blank save against Olympiacos, and another one as a shot from outside the box, which he has to get to, and also it's in the bottom corner. I think it was in the first half of that game. So he had a big effect on that one. But Lyon are absolutely littered with talent. It's absolutely terrifying. What's also terrifying is that The second goal they scored against Olympiacos from the highlights that I watched on TNT Sport, it was Zaha who play wide. He's gone down their left-hand side and he plays it on the side. Benrahma cuts in from the left-hand side. That's the big selection thing for me tomorrow night. The manager keeps making signs, kind of warning signs almost, that he's going to drop Tav. That he will drop Tav. He's had the boards up at Tannadice. He was going to bring him off, didn't he? Quite do it. He did take him off early, but that was to get a standing ovation against Dundee in the League Cup. And then on Sunday against Hibs, he's brought on maybe somebody who's been penciled in, slated as his replacement. Nana, Kasan Virjo, the young fella from Feyenoord, he comes on and goes into right back, and Tav goes and plays wide right. I don't know. The manager can't have failed to notice how utterly lethal Lyon are down what will be our right hand side. So I don't know if he's got idea of maybe pushing Tav up to play wide right tomorrow. He doesn't seem to have total faith in Ross McCausland. I don't know if McCausland just being rested. He sets up. He scores against Malmo within 7 minutes of coming off the bench last week, Ross McCausland, and also basically did everything to set up his own goal. He fights like hell right across the park to get himself a goal from the moment he comes off the bench. He was fantastic when he came on in Malmo. He's got the set up, albeit the most of the work was in the strike itself by Tom Lawrence against Hibs, but he did play him in for the assist on Sunday, which was inch perfect, millimetres perfect, because it was just onside. So I don't know if the manager was, when he took him off at half time, he wasn't satisfied with what he was doing. He was clearly dissatisfied with Nico Raskin. So I expect it to be proper and big soapy suitor at centre half. It's going to be Butland in goals. It has to be hefty at left back, you would imagine, even though Yilmaz is back in training. Who's going to have a problem in his shirt back at left back, left wing back, I think, Ridvan Yilmaz. I don't know what's happening at right back at all, but it's got to be. I think we saw it through his absence on Sunday, especially, and apparently he's back. He's fit again. He's over that little knock. It's got to be Diamande sitting with Conor Barron, the two sitting in midfield. If we're playing the 4-2-3-1, which I imagine we would. It looks like Bajrami's going to be playing the left-hand side. No Cortez coming back. No Matondo or anything like that. So I don't know. Maybe Ross McCausland's going to go on the left-hand side and we're going to see Bajrami coming in at 10 because we'll need his quality in there. Tom Lawrence, I think we're all still feeling the guy scored winners in the last two league games. He scored the only goal of the game in the last two league games. And he did play in that brilliant win against Malmo. I still think a lot of us aren't really sure about Tom Lawrence, but it's getting to say that it's unfair on him. So he's going to be, I don't know what's going to happen there. If Bajrami's going to perhaps come in, he'll play at 10. But it's... I'm interested to see what happens with Tav. It's not quite Dylan going electric and turn up loud. Judas. It's not going to quite be that if Tav is moved out of the wing back position. Neither is it going to be like Beckett realising he should start writing in French. It's not going to be the thing that transforms Rangers into a magical team, particularly if Tav goes up the right hand side. But I'm really interested to see. I have a funny feeling it'll be Bajrami in the left and Tom Lawrence at 10. It's got to be Dessers up front. We saw Egerman just wasn't up to it at all against Hibs on Saturday, albeit it wasn't well supported. The whole team was kind of slow. The midfield, everything was kind of slow on Sunday. Understandable after the efforts in Sweden in the previous game. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens on the right hand side in particular. I wouldn't be against seeing Kasan Virgil was fantastic against Malmo, playing his left back when he's so right footed. So I wouldn't mind seeing him playing against Lyon, give him a go. I think we need something to happen there, and I can imagine the manager pushing Tav up so that we've got. He was stressing that today. You can't worry about them. You have to do something. You have to try and attack them. And Tav, when he joined the attack on Sunday, it definitely made a difference. It definitely gives us more. We can pitch our tent up the park more because we were struggling to get one on half against Hibs. I hope that it was because the focus is on today. It's on tonight. Sorry, by the time you see this, it'll be tonight. That this game against Lyon, rather than a case of us just being completely crap against Hibs. But I think the fans were quite good against Hibs. I think there was the moment with Czerny. That's why I keep talking about the right hand side being an option, because I feel as if Czerny he's not quite getting there. He's not quite getting there. Fantastic goal against Motherwell. Definitely played his part against. There's no lack of effort. His part against Malmo. Definitely no lack of effort there. But I'm thinking the manager might be tempted to try Tav instead of Czerny. Is something I should have said at the beginning of that rant about the team. But never mind. We'll see what happens. But when he had his little moment, 66 before he gets subbed, he has a go. The crowd go, "Oh, what are you turning back for?" And he goes, "Oh, shut up." I think everybody kind of went, "Aye, all right, okay, right, calm down." I think it was one of the. It wasn't meant viciously. It wasn't "we hate you." It wasn't like Sam Lammers no getting subbed off against Aris Limassol. It was just. We're a bit frustrated. We're all kind of tense. We're just saying we want to win this game. It's only 1-0. Gives another goal. We're a bit uptight. And he tells us to shut up, and we kind of went, "Aye, all right, fair enough, mate." But I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start tomorrow night at Cherney. It's a weird thing, this schedule. I think schedule's a way to describe it rather than the group that Lyon will be playing. They're playing two German and two Turkish teams. They're playing Eintracht Frankfurt and Hoffenheim, as well as Fenerbahce and Besiktas. They've got Olympiacos, same as ourselves. They beat them. Obviously, we've got to play Olympiacos. Ourselves will get Karabag from Azerbaijan. So they'll get to, the Lyon fans will get to see an Azerbaijani club side, and they'll get Ludogorets Razgrad of Bulgaria, who should be doable for them. It's a weird thing for us. I feel as if we've got to beat. You look at it's like four teams that you're expected to lose to, who are the two English and the two French sides, two Premiership, two Ligue 1 sides. I know Manchester United are in a state just now, and they lost to our other English opponent heavily at the weekend there when Spurs beat them 3-0. But Ten Hag is either going to be gone by the time we play Manchester United, or I think it's January we play them down at Old Trafford, or they've got somebody in who's much better than them. So I don't think the Manchester United situation, but they can't give us much hope just now. Spurs, I think they'll just do us at Ibrox. I can't see us being able to beat them at all. Nice, I don't know. I'll need to look into them. I've not properly looked at them, but Lyon are weak just now for Lyon. I think that hopefully they'll be concentrating, having got off to a win in their first game in the European side of their season. I think they'll be concentrating on putting things right domestically. I hope maybe they take their eye off the ball tomorrow night. And the crowd, I'll be interested to see. I think the crowd were quite good on Sunday. It wasn't very noisy, but 12 o'clock on a Sunday, bit of a come down from the game against Malmo. It was a weird one. More time to get bevied tomorrow, basically, before the game. And I'm interested to see, with us having gone in a 4-win run without conceding a goal, if all that talk of don't buy the package for the European games, you're just keeping this board in place, all that kind of crap. I think it's quite expensive. It's really expensive for folks. A lot of money to ask them, especially build up to Christmas and all that. So there's a good reason for the crowd being down anyway. But it'll be interesting to see if a lot of people have just basically sacked it because of the whole Hamden situation. We're still on the phones tomorrow night. I'm going the QR code on the phone. We're not on the smart cards or print off the paper ticket if you need to. But I am quite interested to see how the crowd's actually going to go. But I think we need to be beaten. It's almost like your chances, they're saying it's going to be like 12 points. Sorry, 9 to 10 points can get you through. Just play it safe, call it 11 for Rangers. But you've got 4 teams there who are Europa League teams, I would say. We've got Steaua Bucharest next month in 3 weeks' time, and then at home we need to win that one. And I think Union Saint-Gilloise is going to be a difficult one. They're the kind of deceptively, they're not a proper Champions League team yet, but they're getting there. Everything they're building towards is Champions League. They'll be a bad one. They're one of the ones we have to kind of beat. So we might have to take a chance. We might have to excel. Going to Olympia, going to Piraeus will be difficult. I'm just hoping they're having a kind of a season from hell after having the Annus Mirabilis last season. They're having a kind of backlash this season. Maybe we can get something over there. But if we're going to take a point off any of the kind of the 2 French teams, the 2 English teams, I think this is the one. This is the one. But I fully expect us to be up against it. I really do expect us to be up against it. We need to give it absolute large. The only thing, Fabio Grosso, he was the manager that got sacked last season. He was also the fullback for Italy and Lyon. He ended up at Lyon. He was at Inter, and then he ended up at Lyon. I remember watching them playing that time. They beat us. The first time we played Lyon, that Champions League group stage, back in 2007, 2008. We won 3-0 in the Stade Gerland. The Stade Gerland. And this is the thing. We won 3-0 there. Fantastic. One of the greatest Scottish performances away from home in Europe ever. And we do well away from home in the modern period, in the 21st century. Rangers' kind of big results, eye-catching results, are away from home. Celtics are at home. You tend to find, although it was a home crowd that got us to that Europa League final back in 2022. It would be a fantastic result in Dortmund against it. And that's the thing, we've played Borussia Dortmund 5 times in Europe, and we've only lost once in the Westfalen, and it went to penalties. You know, we were 2-0 up for the first leg, and we lost 2-0, and we eventually went out in penalties. The only time Dortmund have put us out of Europe in 5 attempts. But we beat them in Dortmund in the Westfalen. You know, Celtic have lost 7-1 last night. We lost 7-1 at home to Liverpool in the Champions League group stages. You know, and remember Celtic beating Liverpool at much, nothing like the Liverpool team we were playing a few seasons ago in the Champions League. But back in the day when Celtic got to the final in Seville, they beat Liverpool at Anfield. It's a massive and iconic result. So it's a kind of that was the last time I think they did something really kind of. They've done other special things. They beat Lazio and Rome and what have you. I'm trying to miscall Celtic, but generally we seem to have struggled at home, and it's the big results, the statement results make it away from home, like in Malmo. And as I say, we've gone 5 unbeaten away from home under Philip Coman against Sparta Prague, Benfica, Real Betis, Dinamo Kiev, and Malmo, but we haven't won at home against Aris Limassol, Benfica, or Dinamo Kiev. And he beat Sparta. That's it. He's only won one home European game, so he's got it all we do at home. We beat Lyon that time in 2000 in their place. Then they come back, and it's a young Karim Benzema announced himself to the world with 2 fantastic goals in the space of 5 minutes to finish us off. A 3-0 defeat at Ibrox. And then we drew 1 each in Lyon in the close of that group stage in 21-22. But in between times we went to Lyon, we went to the Stade. It was Stade Gerland the first time we went there. A ground that's hosted, it still hosts rugby. It's hosted the Rugby League World Cup final. The Stade Gerland, so has Old Trafford. No, another place we're playing this season. Wembley's the other one that you could possibly play at in Europe. It's hosted the Rugby League World Cup final. It's a wee one for Rangers to tick off the list and keep my anorak happy. But we also played in the Valois Trophy. I can't remember one of those fancy French words. About 2 syllables, which is too complicated for me. The Trophy Valois, and we played in the Parc, Olympique Lyonnais. It was much reduced crowd because of COVID. It's a pre-season tournament, 2020, summer of 2020, and we beat Lyon in their home patch. The other team involved in that tournament was Nice, who were playing this season, and we beat them as well. Every time we beat Lyon, every time we meet Lyon, we do something special. We won 55 that season, unbeaten. The last 2 times we met them, we ended up in a European final, and we met them in European competition. So it's 3 times we've been to Lyon, and we haven't been beaten. And this is Lyon coming to Ibrox for the 3rd time. This thing of not meeting a team away from home, you only play them at home or away, it's quite good in terms of Malmo. We don't have to worry about Malmo coming to Ibrox and ruining the result we got over there last week. I would quite like the fact that Lyon won't get a chance to. It means they'll be more up for it because they know they won't get a chance to do us over in Lyon. But I would like us just to change the routine and just. I'd take a point right now. I would kill for a point right now. But Fabio Grosso, he played for Lyon in that game where we lost 3-0 at home. I remember him right in front of me. I think that's Fabio. That's him that scored against Scotland. So I'm scoring against Walter Smith Scotland at Hampden. I won each draw with Italy in the qualifiers for the 2006 World Cup, which Italy won. Fabio Grosso scored a pivotal goal in the semi-final in the Westfalen in the Dortmund Stadium against Germany in the semi-final, and then he scored the winning penalty in the final. And the only guy who missed it, is playing for a French club. It was against France in Berlin that they won that World Cup final. Italy, and Grosso scored the winning penalty. And there he's back playing for Lyon, and he's managed a French side. But the only guy who missed in that penalty shootout was David Trezeguet of France. And his dad's basically Argentinian, played French football, so his son was born in France, but he grew up, he's brought up in Buenos Aires, and there's a story about when he was a kid, he watched the 1986 World Cup, and he thought he was going to play for Argentina, Trezeguet, and he said to his dad, I want to do that, I want to do what Maradona's just done, I want to win the World Cup, I want to win the World Cup on my own, basically. And his dad said to him, right, it's this beautiful way of putting things. That's what I'm talking about, songs for Tav and the nicknames for players. His dad said, because his dad knew what it took to be a professional footballer, and he knew what it was a level he'd never got to, was winning World Cups, and he said that's something you can't guarantee. You can't make that happen. All you can do is set the table, prepare the meal, and have the door open. So if that guest turns up, you're ready to welcome them. and I think that's how Rangers have got to set ourselves up tomorrow night. We are not expected to beat Lyon, but I think we have a manager who's definitely going to have the table set and the meal prepared, and it's down to us to make sure Lyon come along and we absolutely eat it up. Enjoy the night, folks.